Alright, well, welcome back to the channel. So if you guys have been following at all on the Friday videos, which you don't have to, we're just trying to give people an opportunity to see some shorts. John picked up this Subaru the other day for 300 bucks. We knew it had a bad head gasket. It was going to go to the scrapper or somebody like me, and I'm somebody like me, so I took advantage of the situation and got a hold of it for the $300. That was what they were asking. They really wanted $400, but $300 was fair. That doesn't really matter, I guess, what the money is. The point is we'll fix the car for a couple $100 and it should be a good car for somebody. So what we're going to end up doing here, I don't know how much you're going to film, but we're definitely going to want to show you the inside of these little engines. They're very similar to the Volkswagen Beetle stuff from the 60s. There are 2 cylinders on each side opposed. They're called a flat 4. They've got timing belts and covers and cams on the outside. So what we'll do on this one here is we'll pull the battery, the radiator, the exhaust system, the alternator, the air conditioner, the power steering. That stuff will lay out to the side. The intake manifold comes off. Then you can get to the bell housing bolts real easy on these. You leave the starter, you leave the axles, you leave all that. The engine will come out. You rotate it by hand, pull the 4 torque converter bolts. There's 4 bolts for the DL2 motor mounts, the bell housing, and then that whole engine will come right out. We've got our picker ready. I may put it on a stand, I may not. I'm going to go kind of quick on this engine and just replace the gaskets, the timing belt, and kind of do a budget-friendly overhaul. Nah, not really. I'll probably pull the pan. We'll look at the oil pickup just to make sure it's clear. I don't really know the history of it. The people had it for a year or 2. Their daughter drove it, and that's where we're at. So I guess stay with us, watch what we're doing. We're going to show you snippets. It's going to go kind of quick. There's a big plastic cover on the bottom of this. We'll pull off and then we can drain the radiator. Okay. Need that.
Well, good news, when he takes off the bib, he'll find it. It'll fall right in his face.
Oh, thank you. And on the table behind me, I'm laying stuff out. Associated parts. You know, I was having a conversation the other day with my dad. We were walking the dogs, and we were talking about this little car, and you know, he's interested in what I do, and he says, "You sure had a lot of those Subarus, Darren." I said, "Well, you know, they're affordable. I figured out how to work on them some years ago." And I said, "They're all-wheel drive, and I mean, how can you beat it? They get good mileage." He's like, "Yeah, I guess that makes sense. He said, they're just not very popular." I said, "Well, they are in the Northwest. I don't know if they're popular everywhere, but." You guys remember a while ago I said I don't like using impact guns, and then Mary's catching me using impact guns. I'm taking things apart, and I like using them to take things apart.
That you don't love in case they break.
Well, no, I mean, you got to be able to know what you're doing. But we were joking the other day because John has one of the newest cars in our fleet, because I like old cars, right? And I guess I've inflicted that on other people. They got to drive old cars now, but I don't know, it's just something in my nature to repurpose, reuse. Oh, so speaking of which, in the other clip there, I said something about like, comment, and subscribe. We've been getting some really good comments from people, really some intelligent, thoughtful, out there comments. I appreciate that. It's so refreshing to find people that are interested in what we're doing and to be able to be, you know, witnessing this whole experience we're going through. Super awesome. So on these Subaru alternators, I was telling the kids these are the best, easiest alternators to change. They've got one big bolt here.
Okay, they make up for it with difficulty for the spark plugs.
Yeah, but then this comes out and it's got this, let me get that loose. And then that just hangs back there, and it's so easy, you don't have to have a nut or nothing back there. And then on this one, this deal comes out, and I'll put that one back in. So let me show you this quick on an alternator. You see that little piece of metal? It moves as it's tightened, so sometimes you get an alternator and it doesn't fit right. You just take a hammer and just tap that out, moving it out gently, and it'll drop right in, and then the bolt will pull it back in. Anyways, that's something to consider if you ever have to do your own maintenance work, or you choose to do your own maintenance work. Because we know that part works, it's going to go right back on the car. Power steering, if I remember. Once the radiator's out, it'll be easier. There's some bolts in the front on these EJ25s. There's some bolts on the back. You saw me remove this already. That will just set right over there. The air conditioner, some bolts there, it will set where the battery is. Then we'll zip off the intake manifold, and we're like practically there. The longest part of this is just getting the tools out and getting set up. And sometimes you lose your tools too.
Right in the radiator.
Yeah, John can reach out from underneath.
I don't know if you can see it down there, but it's down there. We know it.
That's where I keep them.
Here you go.
Woohoo! A magician. What you got there, Darian?
I just saw this fall out of my ear, Mary. What has been going on here? Yeah. You're never too old.
A little lavender.
Yeah, goofball.
Damn, fingers. Nice smashing hit between the...
Move your hand.
Nice. I got transmission fluid all over me.
Oh yeah, you're working on a car.
Oh, it's the favorite smell. Show them your arms and your body. Yeah.
Yeah, you're working on a car. You're gonna get dirty. Oh, look at all this room now. If you ever need to change the timing belt on one of these in the car, you got to do all this just to get here, but it's, yeah. Okay, so next thing I'll do is get these pumps out of the way.
The worst part was the radiator on this one.
Oh, they're a bugger. Okay, so intake manifold. Down in here, you're going to see that there was 8 bolts. They're 12 millimeter. If you take those 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just have to unplug these few plugs that are in the engine, and then these 2 water hoses there and there, and you can lift that out at one unit. Then you end up with this. Okay, I know this looks intimidating. These are the water lines, PVC, the other water line. This is where your 8 bolts went through, and you've unplugged it from these 3 on this side, these 3 on this side, your cam sensor, your crank sensor, your oil pressure sensor. Back here's a NOx sensor, and then it just lifts right off. I couldn't film that. My hands were full of intake manifold, and I'm kind of on my own right now. Kids had some things to do. So at this point, you are ready to essentially, if you wanted to do it in the car, you could pull the heads, pull the timing covers, pull the heads, and you could do this job. You'll see this is the gasket right here between that we're looking at. It's going to be leaking on this side. Almost always they are on that 3-cylinder in the back driver's side. But what I'm going to do is rotate this around with the crank, and I'm going to pull these 4 bolts out of this, and I've got 1 more bolt down there to get these 2 lines for the heater coolant, and then this engine's ready to lift out, and I'll do that because it's a lot easier to work on them when you can get around them. Anyways, that's kind of what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to show you that right there. There's this little flapper deal that comes out, and then there's 4 bolts there. There's these 4 short ones. They go in there. You just use a 22 millimeter on the front, use a 12 millimeter back here. You release those, and then I'm going to take a little paint spray on there, just so when I put it back together, I have the same orientation to the torque converter to the flex plate, just in case it makes any difference. So I'll do that real quick. Great. So that way when I go to put it back together, I know I've got that the same. They should be universal, but it's just a precaution to make sure that it fits nice. They got extra bolts in it. Huh. Oh, the last one I did only had 4 bolts. Alright, delay. Okay, we're done for the night. We got the engine out. It's on a stand. It got too dark out there. The phone fell down underneath that I was recording with, so you don't get any of it pulling out. It's just too dark on us. Anyways, we'll take this apart tomorrow, show you how that is, what we find inside. Get the new gaskets. Usually they're on the shelf at the parts store. Put a new timing belt on it. I'll show you how to do that. And then we should just be able to stuff it back in. We're obviously going to clean it. I vacuumed the engine and stuff. These aren't too difficult. This model I had never, this is a newer one that I've messed with, but you can see it has the studs. Then it had 1, 2, 3 more, so it had 4 per side, where usually the ones I've dealt with before, they didn't utilize these other 2 holes. It was just this and this. So that took an extra couple of minutes to get those bolts out. Anyways, not bad. We're going to be into it all right for money-wise, I think, if we don't find anything wrong with the engine inside. Good morning. Today, we're just going to take a few minutes. I've been out here about 25 minutes. We removed the front. Come over here, John. We removed the front. I have one head off. This is the troublesome head. I can show you the gasket on the other. It looks like an original Subaru gasket. I don't know that it's original, but a lot of times people will replace them with the original single layer gasket. We're going to pull this head, and I'm going to let you guys watch me do it, just to show you how quick and easy these are. First, we'll do the valve cover. There's 6 bolts. We'll just set them right here for now. And then you gotta, these have some dowel pins, so you gotta work them off gently with a screwdriver. Okay, there's your gasket. We're gonna replace these. Sometimes they're reusable, but these are pretty hard and oiled. That goes there. Now in here is your 6 bolts. They're a 12.14 millimeter. In theory, I just got to pull this oil dipstick because it's connected to the head. Now that should take care of that. Now, like I said earlier, and it's being stubborn, but I'll put the bolt back in a minute. So then I've got a setup here. We're putting the okay, there we go. All right, anyways, I like to break these by hand, but it takes quite a bit of force. These, the Subaru says you put them at like 25 pounds, and then you go a quarter 3 times, so it's 3/4 of a turn more. In the past, I usually do about 65 foot-pounds. Like I say, you give them they'll make a pop, and then let it relax. Make a pop, let it relax for a second while you're doing the others. There's been some debate on the Subaru head bolts. They say replace them every time, but then most of them are made in China. These are Japanese, so the metal's better. So then people say, oh, the stuff that's old is better than the stuff that's new. So that one went all the way, but that's where I think our gasket's going to be problematic. Then you come back, and it's normal for them to make that cracking, scary breaking sound. So don't be afraid of that. If they do break, they're not too bad to get out usually. So now that I've got it broke, I can use my impact gun, and like I said, I like doing that by hand. I leave them in the hole because then I know which one's which. with which setup, right? You saw it separate there. Okay, so we'll set this down and see if we can identify. Let me get a light. So much for my bolts. Well, you can see it's delaminating, right? But usually it's down here in this corner somewhere. Well, we'll take it out in the sun and mess with it for a minute. Then you can go ahead and look inside. This dirt and stuff just fell in. There's a sand pocket. When I vacuumed yesterday off screen, you probably didn't see that. So these are your coolant passages. Oh, excuse me, that's oil. This is coolant all around. These cylinders don't move very far. It's just a quick one. Anyways, you don't have to disassemble all of the top of this, the cams, nothing. Just do that, put it right back into service. We are going to pull the pan and stuff just for look. This hose here, this heater hose bypass off the water pump, I always change that. Now is the time to do it. You can get to it easy. This timing belt was done not too long ago. The belt's laying over here. It's in good shape, but I'm not going to reuse it, but I will reuse all the pulleys and stuff. And the bearings look all right. Anyways, we'll get back to you when we go to reassemble it. We got some cleaning to do.
Excellent. Come on, let's take a walk around, Mary. John, you got us this stuff.
Please and thank you.
Let's walk down. Stuff's been waiting to walk down.
It's better when they're pulling you up the hill than down the hill.
They'll pull us up.
All right, man, stand up here close so the camera can hear me. So if you can see way out in the haze, that is the Olympic mountain range. Way, not the stuff you can see.
You can barely see it.
It's just going to be the
on camera.
outline. And beyond all of that, several more miles is going to be where the Pacific Ocean actually is. We're way back in that.
Straight to Georgia.
Yeah, that part of Washington when you look on the map. Anyways, you see down here, there's a fuel barge, there's an oil tanker. Those are massive ships. It just gives you an idea of how big this place really is.
And then, so I think, okay.
These are islands.
Yeah, so the Olympic Peninsula ends over there, right? Or it gets foggy. And then when you
way
see...
out, yeah.
Yeah. And then when you see the fog over there, that's Victoria Island.
Okay, yes. So that
So you
far,
can't see
far
behind this island in the middle, but
So
it's where the different separation
yeah,
is.
see, people get confused that you're this far north. They think Canada's still above us. Victoria, the capital of British Columbia, is actually kind of like right over there. It's partway down towards Seattle. And Seattle is
Yeah, it's pretty in line with Seattle almost.
it's a little bit north, but anyways, yeah.
It's easier to imagine it that way, though.
Anyway, so there's a bunch of these little islands. They have names. I don't know them. Get a map. Look it up. Anyways, yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, it's a neat area.